All right, Shalom. Before I get started, I want to give all glory, honor, and praise to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah Bahashem Rakahakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders at GMS. Peace, honor, and respect to you, brothers that's out there laboring, edifying, rightly dividing the word in truth and sincerity. And Shalom to you believers out there, the Aki and Akwati. So, real quick, what I wanted to get into, because I did a lesson, all right, entitled The Real Hebrew Israelites. And I went into the Zondervan, I went into, of course, the Holy Bible and the Apocrypha. I went into the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary. I went into Babylon and Timbuktu. I went into the 13 tribes. I went into who is Esau, Edom, those other books, and just went through, but I want to do, this lesson is going to be entitled The Jews as well / Israelites, but the talk of the town, we focus on the Jews. And that's another thing I want to say is, these imposters, right? They always go to the Jews, all right? They always focusing on the Jews, okay? Which stem from the tribe of Judah, all right? Which is the head tribe, but it's 11 other tribes, all right? And those tribes matter, all right? It's just not the Jews from the tribe of Judah, because you could refer to Benjamin and Levi as well. They were being called Jews, but those are separate tribes. Benjamin is a tribe, Levi is a tribe, and you got other tribes, all right? But right now, I just wanted to throw that out there. But the Israelites / right now, the Jews were never, ever, ever, ever white. Never white. Now, let me throw this out there as well. You have the Israelite foreigners. You have the speckled birds. You have Israelites that will be looking like many other nations. Why? Because we were scattered everywhere. But when I say white, so-called white, I mean the Jews were never Caucasian, of Edomite descent. Edomites can't be Jews. They can't be of the tribe of Judah because they're from Esau. All right, whether they Ashkenaz, Amalek, whatever, they can't be. If your lineage do not go back to the 12 sons, you can't be from the tribes. And if your lineage don't go back to the tribe of Judah, you ain't a Jew. All right, that's simple. All right. So now what I want to do, they never was white. They never was Caucasian. I don't care. You can't say, oh, they're spiritual or they convert. No. This is not like a gang. This is not something you could just put on. This is a bloodline that we're speaking on, because people speak about it. When I hear people talking, they speak as if you can, like I can just say, oh, I'm a Moabite. I keep the customs. I'm this. I eat what they eat. I'm a Moabite. No, this is a bloodline, okay? If I have a son and I give him a will, just because you might look like my son, y'all might be the same complexion, y'all might both like basketball, y'all might both eat chicken or whatever, you're still not my son. We can even have the same last name. But if your line, if you didn't come out of my my loins, then you're not my son. It don't matter. You can have the same last name as me. You can look like my son. Y'all can like similar things, all of that, but you're not my son. So the Jews were never white. And I'm going to go through the scriptures. Number one, let's do this again. Now, this is the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary, all right? This page 213. We going into Ham, right? Because this is about to be important in this lesson. Ham, the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of the 8th persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor of the dark races, okay? Let me get my pen. Let me get my ink pen. Not the Negroes, not the niggas, not the African Americans, not the coloreds. No, he became the progenitor of the dark races, meaning these people were black, okay, but not the Negroes. See, we two different people. And that proves again that black is not a race. All right. Because here it is. They're dark and black. Negroes are dark and black. All right. Different shades. Even Hamites are different shades. But guess what? We both black, but we two different people. All right. Just wanted to throw that out there. Not the Negroes, but the Egyptians. Keep that in mind. Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites. All right. This is the point. Not the Negroes, but the Egyptians. OK, remember that. And I'll come back if need be. But let's go to the scriptures. Now, let's go to the scriptures, because the Jews were never white, man. All right. Never, ever, ever, ever. Our forefathers was not white men. Yahushua was not a white man. The scriptures tell you that. But what Esau Edom do? He try to tell you that they were, man. And we going to go through the scriptures on it. Now, number one, let's go to Genesis. All right. 42. And I'm going to start at verse 7. All right. And Joseph saw his brethren and he knew them. All right. Now, this is the story of Joseph. All right. We all know. I mean, well, okay, if you knew, you don't know Joseph. All right. He was one of the sons of Jacob, Israel. All right. So his brothers threw him. His brothers, basically they didn't like him, and they gave him over to, the Midianites, which took him to Egypt. All right. So he was a slave in Egypt. All right. But they didn't know that Joseph had gained status in Egypt. So basically he was number 2. He was the second in command. All right. So, like now you got the president. Basically, he was the vice president. Just put it like that in layman's terms. All right. So now Joseph let, Pharaoh know about it was about to be a famine, and they had stocked up, the corn, the food. All right. So his brothers had to come from the land of Canaan, okay, to Egypt to what? To get food. All right. So they haven't seen him in a long time, and they don't know that their brother got ranked. All right. But he knew them. Now check this out. Remember, Ham was the progenitor of what? The dark races, not the Negroes. Okay. But the Egyptians. All right. So he's in Egypt. All right. Now, verse 7. And Joseph saw his brethren, and he knew them, but made himself strange unto them. All right. And he spoke roughly unto them, and he said unto them, whence ye come? Where you come from? And they said, from the land of Canaan to buy food. And Joseph knew his brethren, but they knew him not. All right. So he, at that time, he was probably in the Egyptian garbs. OK, he was probably clean shaven, and he knew them because why? They was Hebrews. They were, they had beards, probably a different style, a different swag about them. OK, just like now, Ham got a different swag from Israel. All right. It's a difference. Now, a lot of them come over here and try to jock our swag, our style, our stilo, whatever you want to call it. But it's not the same. They don't have the same swag as us. All right. And back then, they probably had a different style of wearing clothes, of course. OK, they probably, the brothers probably came with the full beards, being Hebrew Israelites. Joseph, he probably was clean shaven with the Egyptian garbs. OK, but they didn't know him, but he knew them. Now, being facetious, if the Jews were white, right? The Egyptians being what? Dark-skinned people. If the Jews were white and they came and seen their white brother, don't you think they would have noticed him? He would have been the only white dude in town. All right. If the Jews were white and the Egyptians were black, then guess what? When they came, when he seen his brothers and his brothers seen him, they would have knew him, even if he would have had a little tint on him. Because, if a white person go in a hot climate, they're not going to be as pale. They're going to have a little tint. But they're not still going to have melanin. to where they're black. All right. So they would have knew him like, oh, there go our brother right there. Look, because he would have been white as well. All right. Now, let's go to, all right, let's jump down to verse 22. Genesis 42 and 22. And Reuben answered them, saying, spake I not unto you, saying, do not sin against the child, and ye would not hear. Therefore, behold, also his blood is required. And they knew not that Joseph understood them. See, because Joseph, he knew the Hebrew. But see, they didn't know. They thought what? He was an Egyptian. Because they didn't know, like I said, he probably was clean shaven with the makeup on, with the Egyptian garbs. They weren't thinking about their brother who they sold into captivity having rank, being number 2 in the Egyptian kingdom. All right. But okay, let me continue on. For he spake unto them by the interpreter. All right. So he knew what they were saying, but they didn't know that. All right. But he still, tricking them, not presenting himself to them. All right. But he knew the conversation. Why? Because he knew the Hebrew. All right. He still knew the Hebrew, but they didn't know who he was. All right. Now, because why? They took him for an Egyptian man. See, that's how you know the Egyptians having dark skin. The Hebrews as well had to have that dark skin because they didn't know who he was. If he was a white man like them, they would have peeped it out. All right, so now let's go to Exodus. All right. I don't know why I went all the way down there. Let's go to Exodus chapter 2, verse 1. And there went a man of the house of Levi and took to wife a daughter of Levi. And the woman conceived and bare a son. All right, this is the tribe of Levi. And when she saw him that he was a goodly child, she hid him 3 months. And when she could no longer hide him, she took for him an ark of bulrushes. All right, now this is going into Moses, right? This is Moses. All right, he was from the tribe of Levi. All right, at that time, what happened? A decree went out to kill all the males. Why? Because at that time, when Joseph passed, the new Pharaoh that came in, he was looking around like, oh man, these Hebrews, they're being fruitful and increasing abundantly. All right, so if they increase, he looking around, seeing all of us. Plus, if we increase, he was like, if they go to war, then we could side with who? The enemies, and then overthrow them. All right. So, and again, they understood they killed all the males because they understand that the man have the seed. All right. Just a little sidebar. One man can bring back a nation. All you got to do is keep impregnating. All you got to do is keep impregnating women. And no matter what that woman is, the man hold the seed. So if you kill off one so-called black man and you got 50 other women, they ain't all got to be so-called black women. They can be whoever, from whatever tribe or whatever race. That man is going to bring back the so-called black nation, all right, the Israelite nation. They understood that. That's why they said, okay, we can keep the women, but the men get rid of them because the man have the seed. Just a little sidebar. Continuing on. I'm going to start at verse 2 again. And the woman conceived and bare a son. And when she saw him that he was a goodly child, she hid him 3 months. And when she could no longer hide him, she took for him an ark of bulrushes and dubbed it with slime and with pitch and put the child therein. And she laid it in the flags by the river banks. All right. So now, this is Moses' mom. Okay, she couldn't hide him no more. Because why? That decree went out. All right. Verse 4. And his sister stood afar off to wit what would be done to him. And the Pharaoh and the daughter of the Pharaoh. All right. This is the daughter of the Pharaoh of Egypt, right? And the daughter of the Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river. And her maidens walked along by the riverside. And when she saw the ark among the flags, she sent her maid to fetch it. And when she had opened it, she saw that the child, Slacky. And when she had opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the babe wept. And she had compassion on him and said, this is one of the Hebrew children. Now, being that the daughter of the Pharaoh, okay, took the child in and raised him up, he had to be what? Of a dark complexion. Now, how did she know he was a Hebrew? All right, because when you go into it, he was already circumcised. All right, him being circumcised, because that was a custom of ours. All right, she already knew he was a Hebrew because of that. All right, but she could hide the mother could hide him in Egypt. Okay, the he could be raised among them Egyptians because he had dark skin like them. All right, so if this was a little white baby, and the Jews were known to be white, then the Pharaoh would have been like, hold on. Hey, get that little Jew baby out of here. See what I'm saying? But she already knew who he was because he more than likely was circumcised. All right. Again, that was one of our customs. But the main point I want to get is he can hide amongst the Egyptians because it said what? In verse 3, and when she could no longer hide him. All right. See, he could be hid among the Egyptians. Why? Because he was of dark complexion. Not no white guy. Not a white baby. All right? You can't hide no white baby amongst black people. He gonna stick out like a sore thumb. See? Nah. That was let me go matter of fact. Let me go back to Genesis. Let me go to Genesis 2. Whoa. Let me see. No. Nope. My slacky. We stay in Exodus. I just needed to jump down. Now, when you jump down to verse 15, all right. Now, this is Moses, he killed an Egyptian man, and then he basically was on the run. All right. At this point. So Exodus 2 and 15. Now, when Pharaoh heard this thing, he sought to slay Moses. All right. Because he killed the Egyptian man. All right. But Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian. All right. And he sat down by a well. Now, when the priests of Midian had 7 daughters, all right, they came and drew water and filled troughs to water their father's flock. And the shepherds came and drove them away. But Moses stood up and helped them and watered their flock. And when they came to Reuel their father, he said, how is it that ye are come so soon today? And they said, an Egyptian, delivered us out of the hands of the shepherds, and also drew water enough for us and watered the flock. So these Ethiopian women, because the priest of Midian was an Ethiopian man. All right. So he was a man who was a priest. All right. But he was a priest, but he was an Ethiopian man. All right. And the Ethiopians, just like the Egyptians, come from Ham. They know each other. All right. They family members. They have dark races. But see, in verse 19, what did it say? And they said an Egyptian. So they perceive Moses to be what? An Egyptian. Okay. So just like just like Joseph, Moses passed for an African man. Why? Because he was a dark toned man. He was a man with melanin, a man of color. So there's no way he could have been a white person, a Caucasian. All right. No. Unless you want to say the Ethiopians and then the Egyptians was Caucasian and white. No, that's no. That's no. Because that's what they'll do in these movies. They'll have pharaohs and, they'll give a white boy a little tan, not as pale. But no, man, those men and women that dwelled in those lands in Egypt, Ethiopia, even in those were what? Men and women that were black, of color, melanated beings. All right. Now let's go again. Now we did Joseph and we did Moses, right? So now let me go to Acts. Let's go to Acts chapter 2. Salakia. Let's go to Acts chapter 21. All right. I'm going to close out in a bit because I just wanted to prove this through scriptures. All right, because we got to make Esau bear, man. You know what I'm saying? Acts 21 and 37. All right. It says, and as Paul was to be led into the castle, he said unto the chief captain, may I speak unto thee? Who said, canst thou speak Greek? So he asking Paul, like, can you can speak Greek? Verse 38, art not thou an Egyptian? So why is my man asking Paul, can you speak Greek? You an Egyptian. Why is he saying that? Because Paul was a man of color. Again, in the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary, it said Ham was the progenitor of what? The dark races. All right. The Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites. So he said, so here's Paul being perceived to be what? Verse 38, art not thou an Egyptian, which before these days made us an uproar and led us out into the wilderness, 4,000 men that were murderers. So at this particular time, it was an Egyptian man who made an uproar. Okay. But what did he say? Art not thou an Egyptian? Why? Because Paul was a man of color. He was not a white man. If he was a white man, then guess what? He wouldn't have asked him that. Can thou speak Greek? Art not thou an Egyptian? When he wouldn't ask him that, man. Okay. He wouldn't have perceived that he was an Egyptian. Verse 39, but Paul said, I am a man which am a Jew of Tarshish. See, a city in Cilicia, a citizen of no mean city, a good neighborhood. And I beseech thee, suffer me to speak unto the people. See, art not thou Slakia? Can thou speak Greek? Ain't you an Egyptian? Paul like, man, I'm a Jew. I'm a Jew from Tarshish. All right. A city in Cilicia, a citizen of, I'm from Cilicia, a good neighborhood, a good city. That's what he was saying. A citizen of no mean city. See, no, I'm a Jew, man. I'm not an Egyptian. See, so why would the guy ask him that? Okay. Perceive Paul to be an Egyptian. Because Paul was a black man. That's why. All right. So now, this is the last precept and I'm going to close out. Acts 13 and 1. Now, there were in the church that was at Antioch certain prophets and teachers, as Barnabas and Simeon, that was called nigger, nigga, and Lucius of Cyrene and Manaen, which had been brought up with Herod the Tetrarch and Saul. Nigga, as Paul and Simeon that was called nigga. All right. Like today, what up, my nigga? Oh, that nigga over there. Oh, that nigga. Why was they called niggas? Because they were so-called black men. All right. Nigga. See, this, you know, when you go through the scriptures and really read, all right, it lets you know who the people were, man. All right. So there's no need to listen to the so-called white man when he teaching you that the patriarchs of the Bible, our Lord, even the Heavenly Father is a white man. No, never, ever was they white. Ever. Yahweh Shah was a black man. The Heavenly Father, black man. The 12 disciples, black men. All right. People who dwelled in these lands were black. Different shades of brown. Okay. So I just wanted to bring this out. Lord willing, it was edifying, to the next lesson. Shalom.